Hello, I'm Terry A. Webb. I'm a counselor here at the Metropolitan Campus of Cuyahoga Community College. What I'm going to talk about today is test anxiety. And before I get started, I really want you to understand that anxiety is a part of life. Everyone experiences anxiety, and I can't think of anybody that hasn't experienced anxiety in regard to a test. Everyone has problems with a test at some part or journey in their academic endeavors. So don't feel like you're ostracized or different than the rest of the world just because you're having some difficulties in taking a test. The one thing I do want you to understand is that it is normal and it is fixable. It is not a problem that you have to live with for the rest of your life. No, you may not become an expert, but you do not have to wallow in the quagmire of despair at the thought of a new math test or some other type of subject that may be coming. So sit tight and listen. I'm going to do my best to try to get you to understand that test anxiety does not have to be the end of an academic journey. Anxiety, by definition, is the physiological and the psychological reaction to an expected danger, whether real or imagined. See, and when we go into a testing situation, there is a danger, the danger that you might fail. But it can be imagined. If you've studied and prepared, it won't be as arduous of a journey as it is right now. And with that being said, anxiety can also be described as an experience of emotional, psychological, and physiological discomfort. When someone becomes anxious, as in this graphic that's on here, you may cry, you may shake, you may experience all types of emotional and or physiological issues. Psychologically, it can cause you to go into panic or distress. Anxiety, if not treated, can become a problem. But fear and anxiety are interdependent. They do not exist without one another. One cannot exist without the other. As we go on here, the major discerning factor between fear and anxiety are the conditions of excessive worry. Fear is necessary for survival. There's some situations where fear is good. You might need to get out the way. You might need to change what it is you're doing to increase the likelihood that you won't be harmed or you will have a good outcome. So fear is not necessarily bad, but when it becomes excessive, it now has crossed over into the realm of anxiety. And as a result of being in that realm, it is now unreasonable, such as a fear that some people have is that locking the door in their home. They may lock the door when they come in, but they check it 15, 20 times before they go to bed at night. This is a very weak example, but it is an example of an excessive fear. If you locked the door when you first came in and you checked the door to make sure it was locked, why did you have to check it 15 or 20 times to ensure that it was still locked? See, that's an excessive fear. And when we go into a testing environment, to really believe that you're going to fail before you take the test is putting yourself in a situation to experience excessive fear. If you studied and put time in and managed to manage your time appropriately and set aside some frivolous activities and earnestly put forth the effort, the anxiety level in taking a test has a tendency to diminish. It may not fully go away, but it will become manageable. And anxiety and fear are both ontological. That is, therefore, both are part of the normal human experience. Everyone experiences anxiety, and everyone who is logical experiences fear. Much like our turtle in this shell here. This turtle is shaking because this turtle is not sure what's going on around him or her, and this turtle wants to be safe. That's why a turtle withdraws into the shell, because it needs to feel safe. In fear and or anxiety, if turtles can experience that, I'm not quite sure, they withdraw. Human beings do the same thing. A lot of us withdraw when we allow ourselves to be caught up in fear and anxiety. But I'm here to tell you today that in regards to a testing situation, you don't have to be like that. You can relax and enjoy life. See, academic anxiety disorders are not just limited to test taking. They include math and reading. Reading anxiety was something I had when I was younger. So I'm not just telling you about this. I've actually trudged through this and made it through. Math is something. A lot of people aren't even facing a math test. It's just mere mentioning of the word math. They start to sweat. They start to get nervous, and they become discombobulated just because we even say math. Math is one of those things that a lot of people experience fear of. It is not just taking tests. I want you to understand that. Now, these emotional learning problems often inhibit the educational and occupational performance of students and or mask their true potential. Now, with it being amasked implies that it's something that can be removed. And potential is something that everyone has to be successful if they put forth the time, effort, and energy needed to accomplish the task before them. Now, anxiety to a point can be healthy because it keeps you alert. But when it becomes something that stops you from functioning, it inhibits the educational flow. And in inhibiting the educational flow, you're not able to execute the duties and the responsibilities of a course. Like, for instance, some students become so anxious in math that they just stop going. They stop doing the work. Now, these are not good ways to ameliorate this situation. Not attending the class will not help you pass the class. Not doing the work will never help you improve your mathematical skills. This is a demon that you just have to face, but you don't have to face it alone. That's why we're in the counseling center. That's why you have professors. You have all these talented individuals around you to help you move on past this issue. That it doesn't have to keep you in where you are in this state of uneasiness and quivering and shaking. And it can even transmit over into an occupational setting. That's why it's important for all of us to learn how to manage our anxieties that we have, because they truly do mask our potential. They inhibit us from really showing how marvelous of a person we are within a certain discipline or overall as a person. As, for instance, one fear or anxiety a lot of people have is speaking in front of people. I personally used to have that. No longer do I really have that one, but there were some things that I was taught that helped me move on past that. Some people will pass out if you tell them to speak in front of a large group of people. That is something that can be remedied. You do not have to live in fear of speaking in public all your life. You do not have to live in fear of taking an examination all your life. There are strategies, there are things that can be done to help you overcome those fears. See, these disorders can result in significant emotional distress. Anxiety can become so pervasive that an individual is in need of medication. Now, that does not have to go that far in regard to academics, but it can. It doesn't have to. That can lead to serious academic and employment consequences. If, in fact, you freeze up on tests on a regular, it will have a devastating effect on your academic progress. This is why you don't wait until you have failed to now become proactive in this journey to eradicate test anxiety. You must be willing to go out and seek help and get assistance in overcoming this test anxiety. As indicated in this graphic, I have the young lady on a chair screaming in front of a spider. Well, a lot of people are afraid of spiders and snakes. Personally, it's a personal phobia. It is what it is. But the thing about it is, people understand the fear of insects. Tremendous amount of people are afraid of insects. And that is a fear too that can be defeated, just like test anxiety. And it can cause you all types of consequences and inhibit you from enjoying your life to the fullest and accomplishing the things that you really want. See, when you're experiencing uncontrollable, constant worry most of the day about things that last about 6 months, now we've gone into a clinical anxiety disorder. And you know that you worry much more than you should. As I opened up with saying, worry is a part of life. We all worry about things. For instance, we wonder what the gas prices are going to be this weekend, especially if we're driving a big clunker and we need to fill it up. Last week, I saw a gas pump. I pulled up to it and it had $110 on it. Personally, I didn't know they went that high. But I became a little anxious just looking at that, thinking about the pain in that person's pocket. But knowing this, we should not worry. I did not worry more than I should. The pain was not in my pocket. I would not drive a vehicle like that. But you need to know that some level of worry and concern is normal. After a while, it's unnormal, especially if it keeps you up at night. It interferes with you enjoying life. It causes dissension and problems in your family relationships and your friend relationships because you're constantly withdrawing, or you're irritable, or you're totally unpredictable in thought, action, or behavior. So we have to be careful, especially if you cannot relax and you feel tired all the time. Anxiety will weigh you down, just like an anchor around your waist, slowing you down if it's not rectified by some way or fashion. And it is fixable. Headaches, muscle tension, body aches, trouble sleeping, and being irritable. Once again, I mentioned that not too long ago. A lot of people with anxiety are very irritable because you're just frustrated, because you're almost in a fog, because you want to get out of it, but you're too afraid to do something because you might not know what to do, but you know something can be done. At least we hope. As we go on. See, during a test, some symptoms of test anxiety are, during a test, do you ever forget material that you studied? And I do emphasize the term studied. Did you really study it? I don't mean just read over it, but did you survey, read, recite, review, question the material? Did you interact with the material? Did you really get involved with what you were doing and learned maybe only to remember it again after the test? I've had this experience. I think most people in academia or anybody who's gone through school has had that experience, that they have forgotten what they thought they had studied. But see, the key here is that you really have to study the material. You cannot allow anxiety or fear or the fact that you may not like something stop you from putting forth an earnest effort to try to comprehend it. And in putting forth this earnest effort, you have to also too seek help from tutors and professors and other individuals that are here. Do you overanalyze questions? A lot of people go way beyond what the question is asking. They make things more difficult than it really ever had to be. They see too many possibilities. If you're in a class, pay attention to what's going on. Usually with most of the things that you're doing in school, there are not 20 different answers for a question that someone may ask you. They choose the complex answers and overlook and miss the simple, correct one. The first mind is usually a good mind. Do you make careless errors on a test? Do you find you are emotionally upset, crying easily, feeling irritable, getting frustrated quickly? When I was working in high schools, I would see students start taking a test and some of them would just start crying. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. It doesn't have to get to that level. But if it does, we can fix it. If you allow us to work with you and help you forge on through this, it can be done. So you don't have to worry about all the emotions and the psychological dysfunctions that come along with anxiety. We can ameliorate this and get you to where you want to be. There's some things that you can do before you take a test. Relaxation is important. We can't even really emphasize the importance of relaxation. You need to make sure that you're relaxed before you come into class. I don't mean to the point where you're comatose and you're falling apart and everything like that, but that your mind is clear, and that you're ready. That's why the lady here in the graphic is at the seascape and she has her arms up and she's enjoying the cool breeze of the ocean blowing through her linen outfit because she is relaxing. She's at peace. See, try to stay out of turmoil. Try to stay out of things and you know you're about to take a test. I know that sometimes you have no choice, but do as best you can. Do things that are pleasing and soothing to you on a regular basis, such that you will release some of this built-up tension and anxiety in you, and you will start to relax. This is why exercise is so important. Exercise forces you to release a lot of that negative energy that you have stored up. And be aware of the testing conditions. I know of some high schools that I worked in and colleges too. It was cold in that room. And if I'm freezing, I don't think straight. All I'm thinking about is eating or getting something to make me warm. If you've been in this classroom before that you're taking this test in, bring a sweater if you know it's going to be cool. And if it's not, dress in layers anyway, because it may ironically be warm that day. take the hoodie off and you're still good. Adequate preparation through improvement of test taking and study skills. There are various ways to take certain types of tests. You do not approach an essay test like you would a multiple choice test or fill in the blanks or true and a false or whatever test may come or some combination. You need to learn test taking strategies as well as test strategies. You need to learn how to study and improve those skills and learn how to take specific types of tests to make your life a little easier. And effective health habits. I already talked about exercise, and we cannot emphasize the fact of good nutrition. It is really, really hard to focus when you're hungry. And good nutrition is not substituted before you take a 9 o'clock test by a 12-ounce can of Pepsi, a Snickers bar, and a honey bun. What we have here is clearly not nutrition. It is a sugar rush. So you need to make sure that you get a good night's sleep before you take a big exam. You need to make sure that you eat wholesome foods to make sure that your body is okay. A fueled body can handle tough questions. A well-fueled body is not likely to become as anxious because you're not hungry. And if you're like me, I've been in a few tests where my stomach got to grumbling and it distracted me. I already know firsthand that is not the way to do that. And monitoring of thinking patterns and positive self-talk. You have to tell yourself that you're going to be a winner. You have to tell yourself that you can overcome what is in front of you. See, one sports icon I really like to think about is Muhammad Ali. Oh yeah, he was a bad man, the greatest boxer of all times. And he would say things like, I float like a butterfly, I sting like a bee. Can't nobody beat me. I'm the greatest there ever was, greatest there'll ever be. You want to know who he was talking to? Himself. He was trying to get himself motivated. Have you ever met George Foreman? He's a big guy and he hits very hard. Sonny Liston, Ken Norton, who broke his jaw. He was doing this positive self-talk in a dramatic fashion. Please do not stand up in class and say, can't no test beat me. Don't do that. Do all that before you get in there. That positive self-talk is important. Leave all the negative stuff behind. Tell yourself that you are victorious. Tell yourself that you can win. Tell yourself things that will make you feel good about yourself, and that will translate over into the test. Don't worry about all the tests that you failed previously. This is a new day. This is a new test. We have to keep forging on and making strides to improve from whence we came to get a brighter and better future. It is not good for anyone to worry about their past to the point that they can't move forward. Prior failures do not dictate how well you're going to do in the future unless you do nothing to improve. So, thinking patterns. If you're in math, think about math. Don't do your history work in math. Don't do your English paper or your psychology in math. Those all are supposed to have their own compartments of time that you're focused specifically on them. So make it a point that when you're in the test, you think about the math. You can float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. If you allow yourself to put yourself in the mind state that you are a winner and no one can defeat you. And yes, you may not get an A on the test, but if the last test was a 39 and you got a 59, you have won because you have improved. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And every time you make better progress, you have become a better student. Never allow yourself to be put in the mind state that you cannot do better. Yes, you can. If you really want to, yes, you can. Actually overcome. Pace yourself. I've seen students proctoring tests. They want to rush through. Take your time. Don't rush through this. And if you get to a problem and you know this problem is difficult, I approach, this is my suggestion, how I approach tests. If I have 60 questions on a test and it's a 1-hour test, every question takes a minute. There are going to be some questions you may be able to do in 12, 15 seconds. There are going to be some, 1 or 2 that might take 3 minutes. Guess what? Those are the ones you do at the end of the test. Because a lot of students fail tests not because they don't have a knowledge base. They didn't answer enough questions. If the first or the fifth problem took up 10 minutes of the 60 minutes, you now have a time deficit. Peruse through the test. Answer the ones you can real quickly. If it's not a standardized test now, you can't do that. But the average test, answer the ones quickly that you can, because there's something on there that you know. And the more you do that, you will build confidence anyway, because I know this, I know this, I know this, I know this. And those questions may help you jar something in your memory that will help you have greater success on the ones that were painstaking in the beginning. And pause. Take time. Now, I'm not saying stop on the test, but if you feel yourself becoming anxious, slow down for a second. I didn't say for 10, 15 minutes. I said for a second. Take a few deep breaths. Deep breathing is very calming to most people. Take a few deep breaths quietly in a testing situation and allow yourself to release. And then go back into the test. And if possible, take a drink of water. But always do this within the parameters and the confines of the rules of the syllabus and the professor that is administering the test. Do not just jump up and leave or do whatever. Always do it in order and appropriately in accordance to what is expected for that class. So your anxiety levels. One thing that I do when I become really anxious is that I tense up my body and hold it, and I let it go for about 15 to 20 seconds. Tense it up and hold it. 15 to 20 seconds. Take 10 deep breaths. These are quick things you can do within a testing situation that aren't annoying, do not bother anybody else, but they're things that can help you refocus, recenter. I've been known to even doodle to get myself back, but don't spend a lot of time on that. Just make sure that you find some way to get you recentered and refocused, and only focus on that test. Not the ones that came before, not the ones that are coming later. That test, not what you did last night, not what you're going to do that afternoon. That test in front of you is the most important item in your life at this time. So make it a point to start to defeat test anxiety. And you know, when you allow yourself to get caught up in the worst case scenario, you're going to lose. We can always if ourselves to death or should ourselves to death. Those are not healthy scenarios. If you feel negative thinking coming on, focus on the positive. Stop worrying about the teacher can't teach. Stop worrying about what the teacher didn't do. It ain't about that. It's about you passing the class. You know, such things include belief that you will do your very best. And then it's not good enough to just believe you will do your very best. You actually do your very best. That includes preparation, study, and this is a killer. You have to go to class on time, be present and listening physically, emotionally, and mentally in class, and listen and learn and study diligently so that you will know the material. And if you can do those things, test anxiety will greatly go down anyway, because you will walk into a situation of which you are not a foreigner to. You will know what's coming because you've prepared. That's what training is all about, preparing you to do battle, preparing you to do what's next in the game. So, and another thing, those around you might be having difficulty with the test as you may think, or breezing through it. No matter what the other people in the testing situation are doing, don't let their performance interfere with you. Don't ever feel that you're not as intelligent because everybody finished 20 minutes before you. I can tell you this from teaching all these years. Some of them only put their names on the paper and maybe answered one question and they gave up. That's why they left 20 minutes before you did. Or they didn't care and randomly responded to things just to get it over. So focus on you. In a testing situation, it's all right to be a little selfish. Don't worry about everybody else leaving up. If you have 2 hours, take that 2 hours if you need it. Don't worry about you the last one in there. That's not the issue. If you were allotted from 8 to 10 to take it, and you want to take from 8 to 10 to take the test from 8 to 10. Don't worry because everybody else left at 8:15, 8:20, 8:30. Your goal is to get the best possible grades you can. Because if you're worried about what they're doing, you're putting yourself in mode to have anxiety on top of what's going on because you're worried about why they left out before you did. That's not what you're in college for. It's to do your very best at all that you do, to learn all you can, to experience things that you have never experienced before, and go out into the world and become a productive citizen in our society and the world beyond. Ignore others. It's key in a test-taking situation. Test anxiety can tend to lead to a lack of focus, allowing your attention to drift. Don't allow your attention to drift. And I know saying that may seem like it's a lot easier than what it is, but stay focused on what's going on, and you'll be more likely to recall answers. Drill and practice works. There's a reason why when we all were younger, we learned these new dances when they came out. And now line dancing is big. You have line dance schools and classes and ballroom dancing. What do you do when you go there? You practice over and over again. Then when you at the club and you hear your song, now you can jump up and you know the cha-cha to the right and to the left. The same thing with mathematics and science and English. If you put in the study time and you practice, you'll be able to subtract. You'll be able to add, subtract, multiply, divide. You'll know what a dangling participle is. You'll understand everything that is coming to you for the most part. And that you don't understand, don't ever be afraid to ask a question. Some people have anxiety with that. The only question that is bad is the one that was never answered. And also, I would like to thank you for watching this. And I welcome you to visit us in the Counseling Center in the Student Services Building in room 130. I and the other staff there, the other counselors, would love to sit down with you and review any anxiety issues that you have. And most of all, it's free of cost to you being a Cuyahoga Community College student. We look forward to seeing you over there in the Counseling Center and the Student Services Center in room 130. Take care.